Alright, draft physics video. Yeah. With the Inmendum or whatever, the draft science logo-y thingy kind of. Anyway, diffraction gradient I'm holding in front of it, and you can see it just duplicates the image, except it has all that extra bit. And you can just, I believe, I can just drift off here, and all that will be left is that, which is very interesting. Now that light would turn off. Yeah, it's just bad timing on my part. But yeah, I've completely turned the angle of the camera and the grating, and we still have the, let's see if I can get it better in the frame, but you can see it's there, and it's the full image. And there's even a little thing over there. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, whatever that is. But clearly it's just full images. So that adds some, I had speculated in the past about that the two slit pattern is just a bunch of images, but that's looking pretty close to that's what it's doing. But you can see well, anyway, you can see it for yourself. Try slowing it down later too and seeing what it looks like, but sort of tells the story right there. It says, I had a better one earlier. Oh, there's some more good lights there. Yeah. But you can turn it right out of view, and then you can just see the one pattern in the dark, which I got to try to do better, and that's quite interesting. Something else, yeah. So if I angle the film, it doesn't really make any difference at all. So that's like a 30-degree angle, and it doesn't change much. 30 degrees the other way doesn't change much. So this is all worthy of some contemplation and such. So I'll get to that eventually, the contemplation. Yeah, just I wanted to do another video on gravity and the induction part of it, because that sort of gets to the what's the difference between Einstein and Newton part, in the sense that I think Einstein's field equations are accounting for the inductive nature of gravity. That's why it's a two-body equation. That's why it has to have another body in the equation, because there really isn't any gravity. There isn't any specific gravity. Gravity induced at the fullest or greatest potential until you have another body to induce it, to deal with the mass that's in the within the range of creating gravity. You need something to provoke the movement that is the absorption that induces the gravity. If there's nothing there causing you to move, if you're not accelerating, you're not creating gravity. So the sun has to do a lot of accelerating, a lot of moving, to maintain gravity. And I appreciate in Einstein's math where it's not appreciated in Newton's math. But Einstein doesn't call it induction, but Maxwell does, in the sense of dealing with it with electricity and the creation of, using magnetism to create electricity and electrical circuits. There's a lot of attention to induction. Really important. But anyway, so I'll get to that maybe next time. Probably. Possibly this time, but I just don't see any way to get through all this crappy comments. And I just no hope. So anyway, so an asshole who will be blocked. This is just an asshole comment. You have too much free time. Buy a cat or something. And apparently Angela said something. He said, sorry to disturb the science class, girl. And then, so he says, Hypocrite Rain says, so he can kill it like the others, question mark. So this kind of rhetoric keeps coming up with people because I've pointed out how I have mercifully ended the threat to some cats in terms of, I certainly believe it's better to put them to sleep too soon than too late. And there's almost no such thing as too soon, technically, but you know, I haven't acted on that at all. But yeah, I would have kittens, say, to put to sleep. I would. I never have, but I would. Because there's no point in cutting their nuts off and throwing them in the wild. If you can't provide a better life for them than a slow, miserable death, then yes, it's more humane to kill them. I would rather my parents kill me than have me in a gutter and raise me in a gutter. I mean, it's just, in my opinion, plainly logical. And I don't have any problem defending that. I'm just saying that if you want to call it killing cats when somebody puts their cat to sleep, fine. I just think that's only an ignorant person would do that. So the word kill has to do with motive. And if you think it's a bad motive to prevent something from being tortured, fine. Just say that's what you're saying. Just admit what you're saying. That you rather the animal be subjected to harm. That you cut its nuts off, throw it in the wild to eat a couple of bird heads and go yum yum, and then sit in the sun a couple of days, and then go blind and slowly starve to death. That's your plan. I think it's a cruel and sadistic plan. I think you suck as a human being. And the context of this is I've spent the last 40 years taking care of other people's pets, the ones they've abandoned, feeding them every single day, worrying for them, doing minor health maintenance on them, at my own jeopardy. Lots of Lyme disease here, lots of other stuff. I have them in my house sometimes when they're getting aged. And I have to take this asshole as ridicule for that? No, I don't. I have every right to, if he was a human being and lived next door to me, one of our houses would probably have to burn down. Fuck you. Get what you deserve, you sadistic piece of shit. Alright. So then the asshole says, tough guy, the force must be with him. Yeah, fuck you too. I'm glib idiots. Who needs them? So, see ya, Christy. Okay. We're done with you. Alright. Just one asshole after the other. Jesse Pinkman, so the John Wayne impersonator. Drag, of course. How has the speed of light been tested again? Well, really, you really have to go through the list of all the tests of the speed of light? I mean, they do have that mirror on the moon now, so they do it all the time when they, you know, do their little telescope recalibration thing. But every time they sent radio waves, you know, into a satellite, it was tested. Everything that uses magnetism, it's tested. Just there's a ton of tests for how long it takes photon signals, electromagnetic signals, to travel empty-ish space. Oh, that's right, it's been tested with those experiments you deny. No, I don't deny that we landed on the moon, and I don't deny there's a mirror there. So, a meaningless, drivel statement. You'll be blocked again. You can't do better than this. Fuck off. Alright, so the end says, he only denies the ones that don't match his ideas. Well, that's not true. Like I said, some of these conversations are about aspects that I couldn't care less about. I'm just pointing it out that this is evidence of how unreliable your science is, how poorly grounded it is, how you don't really give a shit about that whole scientific method thing. You have no discipline because you're a bunch of religious kooks. If an experiment does not match them, it's okay, by golly. If an experiment does match them, it's okay, by golly. So there has been examples. Can't think of one off the top of my head. But there's lots of experiments I don't like. And again, they aren't about issues that I could care less about. They don't have anything to do with my theory. Anyway, fuck observed reality sometimes, you know? So again, this is just rhetoric, just crap. You can't cite videos. Quote me. Quote the experiment I have unfairly treated. Go ahead, quote the unfair treatment I've given an experiment. Or, don't post. But this vague accusation with no evidence is bullshit. I can only wish that scientists had portable invendum, whatever that means. Then we could know what experiments are right and which ones are wrong. Well, I'm sorry that you couldn't figure out that it would be really stupid to call something a nail in the coffin experiment and then fundamentally misdescribe what the experiment produces in terms of results. If you don't think that's almost comically funny, as scientists, that's Keystone Cop kind of science. And then you could go on the subject of gravitational lensing or even gravitational waves and start talking about, well, where was this science? Who invented the theory that you can convert matter into bent space? Who invented that theory? Because Einstein didn't invent that. Who did? The Keystone Cops. Oh, and I just want to mention how much of a coward you are. Oh, so this must be the creepball, McCule, for blocking and deleting my comments on my other main account. Main account for what? I have subscribers, so I don't know. Do you? Videos. Clearly not a troll. What do you have videos about? Banging yourself in the head with rocks? What? You know, videos showing you have your mother stick her finger up your ass? What videos do you have? Go ahead, post a link to one of these videos. They're not about anything, I'm sure. Only posted constructive things. What? And what do? Delete and block. Yeah, because I've just demonstrated there's nothing constructive in this statement. Fuck observed reality sometimes, you know. How is that constructive? And again, I'm just asking you for the evidence where I've done that. What experiment have I treated unfairly? The same thing you have bitched about other people doing to you. Where have I bitched about it? If I went to a message board, a science message board, and wrote comments like that, I would expect to get deleted and blocked. I haven't posted any such thing anywhere. Liar. So again, this claim that I've been a hypocrite somehow. Where's my hypocrisy? Go show the rag comments I posted on anybody else's video. Go show one. Go find one and show it. You know it's true. No, that's why I'm reading it and saying exactly the opposite. Which is why you have to purge ASAP. No, I'm purging because I have no obligation to let you lie about me. None. Do that on your own time, fucker. I'm not going to give you a platform for it, you fucking piece of shit. So if you can't up your game, if you can't make an argument that doesn't contain lies, and they're lies, then fuck you. Like I said, you don't have any evidence that I mistreated an experiment. You have absolutely zero evidence that I have in any way cheated the argument in any single way whatsoever. There's no evidence I have done anything but have an observed conflict with what is claimed to have been proven, which first off isn't proven, and then second, it can't be proven because the experiment doesn't work. Light isn't a wave. The two-slit experiment doesn't prove it's a wave. The fact that you think that's all proof requires is it looks like it a little bit. That's all you need. Well, I'm letting you know you need a lot more than that. You couldn't win a court case on that evidence. So James McGrin says, die troll. Which, you know, might not, go ahead, but he's not going to do it. You know, two-word comment, wishing death on someone. Can't get more trollish than that. No, you can't get more honest than that, really. There are people on this planet that are just useless pieces of shit. And that's what you're defined by. Your name basically says it. The end. Well, what does that mean? Ooh, how ominous. What you are is done here. Again, no doubt. Troll account. Alright, and the Duke is going. Okay, so that's done too. So yeah, maybe I'll be able to zoom right through all this crap. Yeah, maybe. Alright. So let's see. Oh man, there are so many haters. Just hope we figure out who is right here. Well, we're getting closer and closer, in my opinion, because the arguments are getting more and more desperate, and I'm also collecting more information as things. I just did an experiment, by the way, you know, the experiment is sort of basically saying that when you do the multi-slit experiment, what you're really doing is just duplicating the laser beam. The dots that go at the different angles are just images of the laser beam. That's all they are. Just as that image of that blinky thing is just being created the same way as those dots. And so they're really just images being projected of the light, the thing going through the slit. Every one of the photons is being diffracted. A certain number, 5%, are being diffracted the same angle. So you have a copy of the image, and that copy is distorted by the same prismatic rules of traveling the longer distance. So they end up at a different place on the screen. But the original image isn't diffracted, doesn't bleed, doesn't have red, green, blue separation. So the original image is clean. That's why I can put this diffraction grating in front of the camera, and it will be relatively meaningless, except for the blotch on it, to my image. But if you could see the other images of me, the problem is that the angle is too great, so you can't see them. Those would be separated. That's how it sort of works. And that's sort of interesting. It has implications for the double slit and the single slit experiment. Alright. Man, we'll probably get to that. Some asshole, no doubt. So Jesse again. Remember Dolof Hyde from Manhunter? No. Didn't he have some psychological tick where nothing was real to him unless he could watch a video of it? I don't know. I didn't watch it. And that is why he recorded all his victims? I don't know. Just because we don't have a videotape of gravitational lensing doesn't mean we don't have evidence. And no one said that, did they? All that was said was it's sort of an important subject. And on the 100th anniversary of Einstein's theory, you think they would be, hey, maybe we should do this for Einstein. You know, for his birthday, 100th birthday of his theory. Maybe we should really prove it this time. You know, like really good proof. They could not even for Einstein could they do it. You know, on the anniversary of the bad eclipse evidence that got Einstein on the cover of the New York Times, right? So what made Einstein a household word, that's coming up on 2019, 100th anniversary of that. You think maybe they can come up with the evidence by then? I'm just saying you have a clear way to prove it without any doubts whatsoever, and it isn't done. Now someone can ask the honest question, oh, you've had the telescope up there for 20 years. You seem to have enough time to take you know, images of smiley face galaxies and all kinds of the silly shit. You think you could just take an hour out of your Hubble time and just point it to the sun to watch all the stuff swirl around the sun, move forward and backward and all that shit. Einstein ring, do all kinds of funky stuff. Just an hour, no big deal. I think it is a telling absence of evidence. You don't think so? Fine. You're an idiot. We're done. Bye. This is, let's see, James McGrin. This is the best explanation ever for why gravitational lensing hypothesis is wrong. Yes, oh, it's my video. Yeah, where I read the other guy's comment, which is a really good comment. But certainly my additions were fairly good also. Do you think that light, okay, so this is Pro F20 int, you know, who I didn't like before. Do you think that light, gravity, magnetism are made of the same stuff, moving at the speed of light with different polarization? Question mark. Well, I mean, you're really not paying any attention at all, are you? I mean, you never even visited the website, nothing. Because, yeah, that's the whole theory. It's all one force. There's not photons, there's really quantons. And the only difference between a magneton and the regular quanton is that the polarization is segregated. That is, the one kind's going out the head and one kind's going out the tail. In regular gravity it's mixed up. And the only difference with a photon is it comes at a frequency. That's it. But yeah, that's it. It's all the same shit. That's why it all moves the same speed, coincidentally. Oh my god, so this is the case for reality. This is a monster comment. Alright, I thought I blocked them, but I guess I just didn't bother, just delete them, but that's the same difference. Comments by some asshole. It takes one to know one. Well, whatever. The argument is that you're making claims you can't back up. You're just talking as if you're some kind of authority, yet you don't demonstrate how you're an authority. You have a sock account. A sock account can't go around acting like it's a somebody. You have to be a somebody to act like a somebody. You're not a somebody, fucker. You're a fucking anonymous coward, as far as anybody can tell. And you just don't have a right to make authoritative statements that are wrong. That's being evil. I mean, they're grotesquely wrong. Alright, how am I a Ken Wheeler type? Well, you seem obsessed with defending wave theory. Wave, wave, wave. You know, that you're probably not. You probably don't like duality either, just because you think it's all wave. It's all wave. That's how you seem to me. You seem quite obsessed with. It's got to be a wave. Waves make everything happen. In mediums. No. Stupid. What have I said that is like with Tesla or Ken Wheeler's kooky theories? Your wave obsession. They were wave obsessed. You're wave obsessed. Could you be specific? Your wave obsession. Of course not. No, I just did. The question is rhetorical. I don't care. I answered it anyway. When it's tested, that's what it does. It goes light speed. This is a quote of me. I mean, I said more than that. So I guess that's, quote, mining when you know, let's just distort what he said by just picking out one sentence. Yeah, I said more than that. Oh, but what about the... Oh, but what about the diffraction from the laser? Question mark. I don't know where he's going with this. And what about all those mirrors and the laser they used to test light speed? I didn't say they used lasers to test light speed. There's lots of tests of light speed. One of the most important one was that all of the gravitational math works better. Yeah. See, if you get the speed a little wrong, it don't come out right. You get the speed a little wrong the other way, it don't come out right. But if you get the speed right, close, the right kind of number, it comes out right. I mean, obviously there's a margin of error there where you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a right answer and a wrong answer because it won't have enough effect to verify or not verify. But the idea that it's somewhere in the range of, 2.9 to 3.1, times 10 to the 10th, meters is, you're not going to get around that. Anyway, Tesla, are you going to explain these objections? What objections? I don't understand what you're saying. I mean, why do you believe light speed isn't reliable? When, it's demonstrated by radio, it's demonstrated lots of different ways. Damn fucking bastard fly. Missed him 6 times now. Alright, anyway. Let's see. Are you going to explain the objections? No. So I don't know what you're... It's just stupid. You want to believe that light doesn't travel at constant speed, that radio waves don't, that sonar don't, that everything doesn't have a constant speed, and that mediums have a constant in terms of how much they retard progress, not change the speed. Alright, then that must mean the experiment is flawed. I don't know what this means. What is this? You know who I learned that from? I learned that from you. Again, that's not the argument being made. Again, you want to say it's not a significant problem that a beam splitter doesn't create 2 beams that are the same, that their condition will be different when they're recombined. That's not significant. Well, it's significant, asshole. You want to pretend it's not? Fine. Be an asshole. I can't help you. I mean, you're overtly doing shit that's just asshole worthy. Alright, I learned from you the speed of force, whatever that means. Well, I don't know how you can miss what that means. It means there's gravity and there's magnetism, and all the equations for those things work if they're going the speed of light. And if you make them go some other speed, you'll see your experimental results will be different than your mathematical predictions. So the speed is confirmed by the fact that if you put the right speed in the equation, it is confirmed by the experiment. So what more argument do you need, asswipe? In Gary's world, forces are elementary particles, so I'm going to... Right. Well, they're really fundamental, but... Well, see, element is a tricky word, right? But, yes, I have to decide which one they are. Electrons are one thing, and the tons are something else. One is more fundamental. So, yes, fundamental seems like the right word. So I'm going to venture a guess. This is one of those distinctions without a difference. What distinction? I'm saying they're not distinct. I'm saying they go the same speed. So what are you talking about? What distinction without a difference? The forces are different, as pointed out just previously here in this video, and as I've pointed out in almost every other video I've made on the subject. And I've to explain how they're subtly, each force is different. But it's the same thing manifesting the force. Which means you have yet to explain why the tons don't have to obey Newton's laws. So again, how do they not obey Newton's laws? This is like a lie. No one has shown any evidence of how they don't obey Newton's laws beyond the fact that Newton didn't know they existed, and certainly Newton would probably agree with me that it would be ludicrous to give particles creating a force identity as matter, because they can't be matter. It's sort of what I was going to explain with gravity and induction. A photon can't create, it can't induce gravity in the sun because it can't move the sun. It can't block force. And the only way you induce gravity is by blocking force or collecting it more precisely. You have to move. Some part of you has to move for you to absorb the force, which means the other guy doesn't get hit by it. And a photon can't do that. So it can't induce gravity. Not that it needs to in this circumstance of flying through a solar system where a sun is already occupied with a bunch of moving and creating gravity through those movements. But that's the real game. The sun is moving violently. The center of the sun's gravity is moving violently in creating gravity. Alright, anyway. Distinctions by the difference. Well, okay, so you say that violated Newton's law, which is idiotic. Okay. The math works that way. So again, that's, quote mine. Why don't you, instead of bitching that other people don't show you the math, where did I do that? I'm sorry, I really don't give a shit about most of this mathematical argument. I'm just saying when other people are going to argue the math is predicting something or showing something, and I show how the math doesn't even have the slit width in it, that's the only part of math I care to talk about, is how the formulas don't match what's being described as their product. Just as Einstein's field equations don't prove what causes gravity, they just explain the event of gravity. You dumb fuck. And I'm sorry you can't understand that. Alright, why don't you stop... Why don't you fucking prove that the math works that way? I don't have to prove particle gravity because it's already been proven. That's why they called it mock gravity. Is because, and again, I can just use Feynman as my proof, in the sense that he conceded that it does everything you want a gravity theory to do, except you can't drive it in space. But I fixed that. The mathematical premise of the speed of light is that it does this in all, he's back to the inertial frames again. Otherwise, momentum isn't preserved. Well, I'm sorry. That's a crock of shit. Your frames are... You're not giving me an example. Show me how the stupid frame is at all necessary anywhere in the universe for any photon traveling anywhere from anywhere. Show me how you need an inertial frame bullshit to get a photon from a faraway galaxy to a telescope on Earth. Show me where this stupid frame is at all necessary. You're too fucking stupid. You can't understand that? Yeah, no. There's nothing to understand. Your contrived notion that you can put a frame around some space and then bend it and warp it is just a pile of shit. Oh, that's right. You're not trying. I'm not trying to be stupid. Alright, there is evidence that light travels the speed of light regardless of what direction on Earth it's traveling. So he puts that in italics. Again, who cares? There's evidence that light travels the speed of light regardless of... Exactly. Again, I'm the one saying light always travels the same speed. It's a distance thing. Are you people this fucking retarded? The speed of light is defined by traveling a certain amount of distance in a certain amount of time. You don't understand that? I'm saying the distance never changes and the time never changes. You're the one saying you can change both of them. Fuck. You're the one not preserving the constant. Alright, but the Earth is fucking moving fast enough we could detect it if light traveled WRT, an absolute frame. You're saying you could detect it. I'm saying show me the experiment. So go ahead. I'm saying it's a slight... You're saying the Earth is going fast enough when you don't really even know what the true absolute velocity of the Earth is. So every velocity the Earth has... the velocities can be conflicting with each other. And at every moment that acceleration vector could be changing. So you don't even know what our absolute vector is, and you don't know how quickly it changes. So if our vector theoretically could be changing every millisecond rather dramatically, and how would you know? Where did you do all the calculations for how fast the universe is turning, how fast the galaxy is turning, well, let's say the cluster is turning, how fast the galaxy is turning, how fast the galaxy is spinning, plus then get into the solar system's rotation and, weed your way all the way down to the Earth's rotation. Where did you figure all that out? And again, my argument is going to be that could be why light diffracts. That's why you can't shoot it through a small apertures, because it's moving. Every photon is technically being shot at a different vector. But anyway, I'm just saying, if we can make a photon, a single photon, we could know its location and its momentum, then we could do the experiment. But you can't do the experiment if every beam of light you have diverges. Fuck face. I no doubt you have a face that's, been brutally raped. Alright, let's see. What part of this don't you understand? We already did that. Obviously a core concept, I guess. But the Earth is fucking moving fast enough we could detect it if light traveled WRT an absolute frame. I guess that's without. What part of that do you not understand? I don't understand where you did the experiment, because the problem is if your light beam is 6 inches wide and you're trying to detect what might be in the center in terms of a 1 centimeter change, you're not going to be able to see it in 6 inches of noise. What part of that don't you understand? Obviously the core concept, I guess. I guess you obviously don't understand that core concept. That you can't expect you're not going to have much luck measuring how deep a thorn is into your skin using a yardstick. You reject bent space. I reject the silly idea of some godlike thing telling planets where they're going to go. Yes. You reject time dilation. Well, that's a lie. I've already been over the time dilation thing. I've called it multitasking. Every atom is already going as fast as it can. Its CPU is running at top speed. The atom has a metabolism. There's all kinds of functions going on. It's being jiggled and jostled and moved all over the place. And that's part of its timing about when it expels a radioactive particle, when it breaks down, how much shaking you have to do before something breaks off. Now, if I force it to move, then it can't do what it's doing as fast. You can't do more than one thing and then do them at the same speed unless you have some sort of reserve potential. And there's no evidence that atoms have any, extra parts that we can use to juggle some more things. So when you obligate something to have velocity, you're in fact injecting it with force. That force is competing with its other forces, and so its metabolism slows down. In my opinion, that's a perfectly rational explanation for why velocity causes what you call time dilation. Einstein blames time dilation on velocity. That's the thing that causes it. You're claiming that the dilation is being created because velocity creates a bend in space. I'm saying, No, velocity just creates force inside of something. You don't need to bend anything. What part of that are you not understanding? Alright, you reject bent space and reject time dilation. So again, I don't reject time dilation. It's just a lie. I've overtly explained it over and over again. So again, you don't pay any attention. You just make up crap. You're inaccurate, grotesquely inaccurate. Why do I have to tolerate that? Why do I have to explain how your lie is inaccurate? Isn't that just like you walking up to somebody and says, you know, are you drunk again? You don't have any right to do that. You apparently don't understand the photoelectric effect. Well, apparently you don't. And you think mass and momentum are not proportional. Proportional exactly how? I mean, the idea that you can only give momentum to material things is an argument I've already explained. But what is a material thing? It's something that can absorb momentum and force and hold it. Electrons can't do that. So why don't you show me your electron gun where you can shoot electrons 500 yards? Your electron rifle. Go show me one. There's no obligation to there being any proportion to whether force is held by an object. Okay, are not proportional as a consequence of accepting Lesage gravity. So again, he's saying you can't, well, I don't even know how it would affect Lesage gravity. Again, it is proportional. And you think mass and momentum are not proportional as a consequence of accepting Lesage gravity. So in the first place, I didn't accept Lesage gravity, as I pointed out repeatedly, so again, you just don't pay any attention. I didn't even know what Lesage gravity is. One of you trolls told me about it. And the idea of particle gravity, what does that have to do with this momentum argument? We're already established all the forces have one momentum. They have a quanta of which you want to call mass of 1, and it's defined by one quanta moving the speed of light, and that's what they all have. They all have exactly the same momentum. All the ultra-mundane particles. You reject everything Einstein ever said about physics. I don't reject everything in the sense that Einstein's right, in the sense of the gravity's induced. You have to have two bodies to really explain how gravity gets created. So he was right about that. It isn't just Einstein's interpretation of what speed means that you reject, for fuck's sake, or something. In my opinion, time is distance. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard from a face. So, what to me is the simplest truth, that the only reason why there's anything called time is because it takes time for things to travel distance. And if it didn't take time, as I've pointed out before, if everything happened spontaneously and, not spontaneously, simultaneously, then everything would happen. An infinite number of things would happen. So already did an infinite number of them. Yeah, that would be the rule of simultaneous. So the only reason why time exists is because things don't do things simultaneously, and the thing they don't do instantaneously is move from one place to another. And that distance is what defines time. Yeah, that's as basic as you can get. I mean, disagreeing on that is just means we probably can't have a conversation about anything, because that's just as simple as it gets. So yeah, you're really fucked up. Okay, where was that crap? Okay, Einstein ever said about physics. Let's see. Yes. Devastating heard from face. Okay, even space-time continuum theory, whatever that is, acknowledges that time is an extra dimension. I think it's silly on its face. The three dimensions go forward, left, right, up, and down. How does time have anything to do with what we call a dimension? Those three dimensions are dimensions of movement. How does time fit as a dimension? It's just stupid. It's insanely stupid. You have to call it some other thing. You've already used up the three dimensions. It fills the circle. There's no more room for anything called a dimension. There's only three that can fit in the circle. You want to call it some other thing, okay, but it can't be a dimension. It's a stupid use of language. Oh, man. Time is a dimension, an extra dimension. Time is just a function. It's how long it takes tons to travel distance. I mean, you want to pervert it into some grandiose thing? You're insane. I'm sorry. There's absolutely no reason to do that. There's no reason to think something that is just so obviously a function, it taking time to travel distance, needs to be a dimension. Even space-time continuum theory, dimension. Obviously, since light speed in a vacuum is constant, it's a great way to measure time. But it's still just a yardstick. It's one hell of a yardstick, as Einstein would say. Fuck you. For instance, you wouldn't define space to be the meter. Distance is distance. Time is time. Just idiotic. Time isn't time. Without distance, there is no time. Speed is distance divided by time. Exactly. Yes. The two of them, distance essentially creates anything you call time. I don't know. There's nothing else time can do but distance. Events. Change. You could say change is time, but clearly change involves stuff moving. Well, change is a movement. I don't get it. You are saying redshift isn't a thing. No, I'm saying redshift happens at the source and it happens at the receiver. So if the receiver's moving away, then the stuff is coming in and he's moving the same way. He ends up redshifting it because it's taking longer for the bullets to get to him. If you could move fast enough, if you could move 2,000 miles an hour and somebody shot a bullet at you, a stream of bullets, and let's say they're rubber bullets, and they shot them at a certain frequency, 1 per second. And if you're moving on a sled 2,000 miles an hour away from the bullets wouldn't hit you at 1 second each. They'd hit you like a second and a half or 2 seconds. You would stretch the frequency out as you're receiving the bullets. The bullets weren't changed. You're changing them by moving away from them. Just like you're changing light when you move toward it. So if you moved 2,000 miles an hour towards the gun, then the bullets would hit you much faster. The idea that you can change the frequency of the bullets in space is idiotic. You either shoot them faster or slower by moving also. If I'm on a sled and I'm shooting the gun, and I shoot the gun one every second, but my sled's moving 2,000 miles an hour that way, the bullets are going to have a frequency that's going to be longer than that. You can't understand that? You're too fucking stupid? Let's see. For instance, you wouldn't define space to be matter. Distance is distance. Time. Okay, we already did that. You are saying redshift isn't a thing? Question mark. So again, I've never said redshift isn't a thing. It's created at the moment of light departing, and it's created at the moment light is received. It is not created in between. We observe redshift. We can observe it in a laboratory, for fuck's sake. Well, again, your premise is again wrong. It's profoundly ignorant, because I've never said in any video I don't think there's redshift. So again, that's your perverse interpretation. Yeah, Gary, you don't understand the speed of light. Fuck you. The speed of light is constant in all inertial frames. No, the speed of light is constant everywhere in the universe. And your stupid frames don't change it. And even Einstein would say that to you. He would explain to you, look, the speed of light stays the same. You get fucked up. And the truth is, if you did have a spaceship and you're going 3/4 the speed of light, and you looked out the window, you'd see you were going 3/4 the speed of light. Yes, you wouldn't feel it, but you'd see it because everything's flying by really fast. Alright? And so you'd know how fast you were going. And if you shot light, you'd realize, hey, I'm not seeing it the way it is. I'm seeing everything whizzing by because I'm moving so slow. The universe is whizzing by the window, just gone. Much more than 3/4 the speed of light going by. I mean, it's disappeared because my perception is retarded. That's what he'd tell you. That for you to see light, if I was going 99% the speed of light and I shined a flashlight ahead of me and I shined the light out, the only way I could see the light leave at the speed of light is because I waited 10,000 years to do it. That is, my frame rate was so slow, it took 10,000 years of 1 frame a day, or something like that, for me to see that happen. But that's not what happened in the real universe. In the real universe, the light just went the speed of light. You dumb fuck. Jesus Christ. Alright, the speed of light is constant in all inertial frames. No, it's constant in every speck of the universe. You still can't paraphrase what our side, the real science side, thinks inertial frames are. I think, quite obviously, that you think there are places you can bend something or delay something. And you can't do either one of those things. All you can do is see it wrong. And the fact is that with the thought experiments I used, seeing it wrong ain't going to work either. Because the light either goes through the hole or it doesn't. And the fact is, it doesn't. And all your little distorted vision in the universe isn't going to make it go through the hole. So you people are just full of shit. Alright. You still can't... that's all I want from you people. Whatever. Acknowledge that we think inertial frames fix the paradox you brought up. And I'm saying you can't fix it without going faster than the speed of light. So you're breaking the constant you say is sacred. And why we think it does. You think it does because you think you can break physics in your little frames. You don't have to agree. I don't have to concede your argument that you're not breaking physics when you are. I don't give a shit if you agree with my theories. If your theories were that I don't have to go faster to get to a further away place in the same amount of time, then I'm going to say, fuck you. That's horse shit. But it's a shame that we live in a democracy, so many people are scientifically illiterate. Yes, it's a shame that asshole, arrogant, motherfucking religious kooks like you can just preach your twat, and you don't get properly sanctioned for being first a liar and a misparaphraser and just an arrogant douche claiming you have some kind of proof when you have no proof at all. Zero. You want me to prove it and make an argument. No, I want you to make an argument that has in it evidence. That's what a proof is. Prove to me that the tons exist and bounce perpendicularly. Prove it. I don't have to prove it because Maxwell already did. So that one's already a done deal. Thanks. Prove that light doesn't do the vector thing. Go on. Prove it. I don't have to disprove your God theory. All I have to do is say light moves in a straight line. It doesn't do something else. And it does it at the speed of light in every frame. Do you stupid laser body experiment and prove it. Bendy experiment and prove it. Go on. So again, they just keep bringing up an experiment that I've already explained why we don't have the physical capacity to do the experiment. They're just going to keep claiming that that experiment will prove it when it can't prove it because it's not accurate enough. So it's like, go out there with your pendulum clock and clock the speed of light. I really can't do that, retard. Alright, don't speak for Einstein, speak for yourself. I don't even know what that means. You're wrong. Well, you're the people slandering Einstein. I'm just saying Einstein's dead. There's no one to defend him. So when these gravitational wave kookers say all kinds of crap about how they're proving Einstein, I bet you Einstein would be pretty pissed off because he didn't have any such theories about what black holes do. You say scientists fake evidence, and so I never said that. You say scientists fake evidence and misreport experiments. I say they misunderstand experiments, as you're demonstrated. You don't understand beam splitters, and you make assumptions. You just assume, oh yeah, the beams are the same, no problem. No, they're not. That's not the same as calling them liars. Again, the ones I'll claim that are just so grotesquely sloppy, I mean, you just can't believe they would do this, I'm saying are the professors. I have to concede. The fact that they won't admit, okay, clearly, that single slit diffraction is the hard one to explain. Double slit is almost nothing. It's almost meaningless. Single slit is the one that's you're going to hurt your brain to figure out. Because it just doesn't make any sense. And Huygens doesn't really help you because the Huygens gimmick is such a contrivance. Another one of your distinctions without a difference. I don't know, again, all that crap for nothing. A false accusation. I've made honest critiques of experiments I think are being falsely touted as proof, and I'm demonstrating the flaws in the reasoning being applied, and somehow that is an offensive horror. And no, it's not. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to do, especially in an argument. By the way, the argument to be made is the mountains of evidence you pretend is not real. Like what? I mean, like we keep begging for it. What's the mountain of evidence? Where is it? And won't bother to learn about. Well, where is it? I've asked people to cite it. Where's the evidence? So what argument is left to make? Well, again, you're the ones having the problem defending your arrogance and your claims that you've already completed the task of proving something when you can't prove it. Should I make a syllogism? I don't care. I think you should make anything that makes you horribly sick and hopefully dead. So go ahead and make some of that. Premise 1. All bits of matter with non-infinitesimal width must have a force holding them together. I don't even know what that means. A non-infinitesimal width must have a force holding them together. I don't know. Is that what I'm saying? I don't think I'm saying that. Premise 1.5. Push forces are better and simpler than pull forces. I'm just saying if you want to look for a rational explanation for an effect, and you have two choices, I'm saying when you're thinking elemental, you're thinking something simpler, not something complicated. Yeah, first you look at push. And I'm just saying, I'm not saying that push wins for that reason because it's simpler. I'm saying that's why you look there first. You would rationally try to make that work first. The fact that science did exactly the opposite, they hated the idea of push, that's kind of glaring. Gary's Ton particles have non-infinitesimal width. So I don't know what this width crap is. They have the quanton, if that's what you're talking about, the tons, okay, in this case you labeled them, only have existence in one dimension. That's what mass is. Mass is your force in a dimension. They only have mass in one dimension. They have no mass in the other two. They only have mass in the dimension they're moving in. That's it. And that explains why a ball of gas has mass. And that explains why lots of things have mass. Is because the only way mass is realized is by something having movement in a direction. And the fact that three-dimensional objects have mass is because they have bits moving in all three dimensions at once. That's how you have mass in three dimensions. That's how you aren't moving the speed of light in one dimension. So if you're moving slower than the speed of light, you have mass in all three dimensions. Gee, can you follow? No chance. Let's see, conclusion. There must have been smaller, more ultra-mundane, double plus mundane particles that hold these tons together. So again, you can't establish any ground rule for the universe. So if we had absolute proof that it was a checkerboard and there were checkers and then there was dominoes and all of that made it happen, that would be throw it out. It can't happen because you can't provide any explanation